All right, so, yeah, because you're right in front of me. So it's, you know, what, 7:34 or so. We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Again, Susan, thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Useful information. Safe travels back.
Thank you.
Excuse me, we have Howie Iris is on the phone, the Windham rep. We may or may not have a couple of other reps calling in. I know there's at least two others who asked to and have the number. And they're going to email me if they have problems. So the first thing is additions or corrections to the agenda. Anybody have any additions, corrections? I just wanted to make one change. Flip-flop A and B under old business to let Anita go sooner.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Members of the public, if you're here to speak to something that's actually on the agenda, we'd ask that you talk to us at that point. If you're here for something else, this is your time.
Well, we wanted to talk about our 10-year-old going to Leland and Gray for 6th grade from Windham. So we weren't really, this is kind of new to us as of 3 minutes ago.
Okay. Have you gone to the Windham School Board?
Yes, we have asked, they have denied.
And they've denied you?
Yes.
Okay. We actually had another parent come at our last meeting and make that request, and we have the superintendent doing some research into how and if we can make that happen. There's a provision in statute that says if we offer a deal to one district, we have to offer that deal to every district. And we're looking into whether or not we would lose all of the tuition that's paid to Leland and Gray by allowing students to come in tuition free. We don't have the answers to that yet, and we've also, since Windham is going to vote to leave Leland and Gray, and there may be some other votes, it may wait until after the vote to actually decide how we move forward with that.
Do we know when that vote is going to take place? Because every time I ask, it's kind of...
It has to happen before June 30th.
Okay.
I know, unless you know something different,
No,
the last I had heard, Windham had waited the 30 days after the town voted to withdraw from Leland and Gray.
Mm-hmm.
The vote was sent to the Secretary of State to be certified. The Secretary of State, once it's certified, sends it back to Windham, and then Windham has to request that the other district boards, Townsend, Jamaica, Newfane, and Brookline, hold a vote, and they have 90 days to do it, but
Okay.
it needs to get done ahead of that June 30th, July 1 deadline.
Okay.
And I think it will be. So once that happens, then we'll have a better idea of what we can do, because even if we were to act now, it might not matter based on the results of that vote.
Okay. So best thing is if it's not allowed, then we come back July sometime for the meeting.
Well, do you have a written request? You can.
I didn't know.
We were going to speak
We were going to speak.
But basically, from the heart, we both feel a lot. I mean, I went to school at Windham. I went to school here. I have and my child is in Windham. I have a very good idea of the situation, and she really needs the socialization here. I mean, she's doing extremely well in school, but she's missing out on how to make friends and how to deal with situations.
It's more than just the merger.
It's this for us is very personal, and we just want to do what we can to try and pursue that.
Okay. Well, can you just tell me what are your names?
Nathan and Aaron Kehoe, Kehoe.
ERIN?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming. We certainly, you're on record here in our minutes as making that request for your daughter. As this whole sort of thing plays out, we'll definitely get back to you and let you know, when it's appropriate. If you want to send an email, just so that it gets logged as correspondence, you can send an email to me.
Okay.
Do you have another pen?
Yeah.
It's on the website
Okay.
of the school board,
Okay.
of the district. But it's just my first initial J and my last name Winrick at wyndhamcentralboard.org.
Gotcha. Okay,
Um,
easy enough.
But yeah, you can send an email, it'll go in the minutes as correspondence received, it'll go to the rest of the board members, and we'll have that. And then we'll, as we figure out what the appropriate time to act is, we'll act and you'll know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
Oh.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, yeah.
You have a rising sixth grader, correct? You have a-
Yes, she's
This would be
in
for next
fifth
year.
now.
That's right.
Yes, and
That's
she'll
right,
be in
that's
sixth
right.
next year.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is very timely.
Yes.
Right.
I wish we had an answer already.
Yeah.
I
Well,
do
you
too,
know,
I'm sorry.
We're just trying to follow it as best we can, to stay on it, so.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
all right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to bring up? Other member of the public? That's you, Chris. Okay, anybody have any correspondence?
Nope.
Okay? All right. All right, so old business, if we flop it, Anita worked with the, oh geez, did you work with the RED or did you just come on with the Act 46 committee?
Act 46.
Act 46, and she's worked with both the West River District and with our district earlier on as sort of a communications stipend, is that the right
Yeah, laptop for hire.
laptop for hire? She writes press releases, she gets us in Front Porch Forum and other media outlets. She advises us on how to say these things, we give her the substance and she makes it eloquent. But after the last, we heard a lot of feedback from the public that we did a very poor job of communicating. And I know Bill and I talked a little bit, and then I know Bill and Anita met, and you have sort of a communications plan that you've come to lay out for us, right?
Right, it's everything I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. It's just draft, and more draft. And if you could pass those big pages left and right for now, just take one, and if you want to hold a couple back for your missing board members. Just put one on either end, one over there, and then those pages in the middle, please. Thank you. So I just want to say that when I got the first email from Superintendent Bill Anton, it was around the 8th of April, and I sent out an initial news tip to the Reformer, the Commons, KVT Radio, Vermontitude Talk Radio, VPR, and Vermont Digger, who've all had stories on schools. So they got a thing that says news tip, upcoming will be another informational meeting and another vote on this. And I sent them the link to BCTV if they wanted to get caught up and watch the videos, etc. Then I had a meeting with Bill Anton on the 11th, and we sat for the better part of an hour and just kicked around ideas of how to get the word out. So we came up with this master list, and I threw a few extra things on there. So the first thing that we talked about was creating some kind of a mailer, and this 2-page thing is the mailer. It was supposed to be printed that way, not this way, but I wasn't there for the printing part. So just make believe this is a mailer, that this is back to back, that it folds in thirds, and where it says address label here, is the third folding thing. You all know what a 1-page thing looks like folded. And so to arrive at this little paragraph of dialogue here, we, you don't need that print thing yet, that's for you and you. Okay. We came up with these talking points because I had watched the video of your last meeting, top to bottom, front to back, twice, to try to, actually 1.5 times, to try to pull out the talking points that came from the members of the public and members of the board. And then I went through that list with Bill, and I said, do you want this in, do you want that in, do you want to talk about this, do you want to talk about that? So this little paragraph of commentary here is what we came up with to talk about. This piece to mail, to have it printed and out in time for this, I would need to get it to the printer. We decided to just get an estimate from Minuteman Press down in Brattleboro. We've had good luck working with them with River Valleys. And they gave me an estimate for several price breaks. And then the second page, you see the rest of the pricing there. And this would go to voter checklists in the 5 towns that would be required to vote on this revote on Article 11. And that list would need to be heavily compacted. So we're not gonna send it to every voter like Mr. and Mrs. Joe and Rich, it would just go to one of the 2. So we condensed the list by, household or whatever, take out any, the idea would be to purge those lists as much as possible to get the clean set of address labels. And then the mailing cost would come to 29.2 cents per piece. So the goal would be to take that entire voter checklist, which I guess now is about 3,500 names, and shrink it as much as we could, and hopefully get it to maybe 2,000 names or less or fewer, and then that would be this mailing. But again, this is a decision-making thing that has to kind of go expedited so that I can get it to the printer quick, so that he has a week to print it, that we can work on the email, mailing labels and get this out. And then, so as I said, it folds in 3. It states what the one question is. Everything in yellow is little bits of information I'm still supposed to get from Bill. Here are the 2 times on the backside named again, all the polling places relisted again. So this was an idea for a mailer. And like I said, that's the only thing that at the moment is on a critical timeline. You also see in front of you on each table color posters. I created that color poster. Bill said he'd print those in-house, throw them up wherever he could, schools, town halls, libraries. He decided to go oversized, even though it takes up more room on the bulletin boards, just to get the visual out there. And then that color poster will be reduced to an image as well, and that image can be sent to you, to everyone, to just stick on their Facebook pages, put in their emails. It'll go to everybody who wants to get that little image. It'll be a low-res image that can just be stuck anywhere you want. We talked about 2 print advertisements, one for the Reformer, one for the Commons. The Commons one has to go in by this weekend. The Reformer we have a little more wiggle room on. Those are a couple $100 each. Bill asked me to write a pre-scripted blurb for the schools to distribute. And that would go on the school Facebook pages, websites, and emails, and print newsletters, sent home to parents and guardians, or for any communication the school has in the next 14 days, and we can also send that to the town clerks and ask them to do the same with whatever media or platforms.
Hey, Drew.
Huh?
No, just
Oh, okay.
another board member came in.
That they're using. Do you want to say what we're talking about?
Drew, we're talking about the communications, sort of the plan for communicating to get out the vote and get out the information, since we did such a subpar job of it last time.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
We talked about, Bill said he would have new tabs put on his WCSU website or wherever he could that were fresh links that would go directly to the financials, directly to the budget information. Bill volunteered to do a robocall, so I didn't get any details from him on that. I just said, fine, robocall your heart out. He said the Teachers Association volunteered to do an outreach, get out the vote right before the time of the vote. They'll do their phone thing or email thing. We proposed 2 separate press releases rather than a combined press release, but we would send them both out the same time, so that papers would have the option of combining them and printing them as one, or splitting them half and half. It's a little harder with the Commons, as you know, because they only come out once a week. So one press release would be about the informational meeting, how you're going to answer everybody's questions and how they should come and talk to you. And then the other one would be about, it's time to vote. Then accompanying the press releases, of course, would be the specific calendar listings. Put these in your community events, your public events, sort of like just the calendar listings, clean, without a whole lot of words to them. Front porch forum, I can stick some stuff on there, but I may ask others to volunteer to help me with that. Front porch forum kind of said I was posting too much stuff. I was saying that I got banned, but it was a little touchy there for a while because I was posting too much stuff. And then we talked about deploying the sidewalk signs that you have available for events, like in front of town halls or wherever you have your town office. Any sandwich board that anybody knows of or can think of, let me know, and I will reach out, or Bill will help me reach out, and we'll try to get some stuff out on sandwich boards starting around the 20th or 22nd-ish, and roll that forward. We are open to more suggestions. I have dedicated the entire 2 weeks to do whatever needs to be done on this right up until the time of the vote. We can continue to build this list, we can add and delete, we can reprioritize what needs to go for second or third. But I will go back to where I started and just say that this mailer is the time-sensitive piece right now, because we gotta get it off to the printers, they need time. So I'm happy to talk more about what I could do, answer questions and brainstorm a little more.
Wow, that's a lot. Just because there was a lot there, when do we need to make decisions on the mailer?
Almost now,
Okay.
because I need, well, like now, tomorrow now. I need to get this to the printer like by Thursday or Friday. He needs time to, I kind of told him I would try to bring him a decision for tomorrow or at first dawn of crack of light on the dawn on Wednesday.
Okay.
Because he just needs time to do it. I mean, you know, I asked him to reserve the time already. I said, you know, just reserve me the time and I'll try to get you the document. And the goal would be to mail it, to drop it in the mail Monday, so that the people get it like Tuesday and Wednesday, and the informational meeting is Thursday. It's cutting it very closely.
Gotcha. Oh, I was just kind of making sure, because, you know, I think it looks great. You know, it's simple, it's to the point, it raises some of the questions, but it doesn't try to answer them necessarily. It just says, come and we'll tell you. And it definitely communicates the information that we left out last time, or that we didn't do such a great job of getting out. But I know people, you know, like it could, I wanted to know like how long we actually had to, you know, go, oh, it would be great if we had this in there. So we basically have 24 hours, and that's generous.
That's it, because the whole thing just, we had to wait till the meeting to present it to you.
Right.
Even though I did this a few days ago, I couldn't really discuss it. And as I want to reiterate that these talking points in this little blurb right here comes directly off the video. So none of these talking points don't relate to what people here said or what you all said during that last meeting that I watched. So it was, you know, there were many more, and we laid them all out in Post-it notes on the table and said, not that one, pick that one, pick that one. So it literally was an exercise in trying to pick the right talking points. We felt it was important to say how few people voted, because that was expressed more than once from the floor and the board at that meeting. So I felt that was an important thing to say to people, that, you know, I know it's kind of a shame on you for not voting, but on the other hand, it's the truth.
Well, my question is,
Please.
I realize, I understand this is the first combined district vote, but what is the normal turnout for a Leland and Gray vote? What percentage of the voters? Because it's the same 5 towns.
Close to the same.
Close to the same, right? That's what I thought. So in other words, this is a typical vote. This is not a poor turnout due to poorly advertised, you know, the board poorly advertising that there's going to be a budget vote. What it is these are the normal people that come out to vote regardless from the 5 towns, that do their due diligence and do their voting as normal.
It was
So-
about 330 people voted.
Right, which is about normal for every year for the Leland, because it's the same 5 towns, so it's probably the same
330 people.
300, right, it's the same people that go out and vote every year, you know, this is, you know, what I do, it's time to vote, I vote. I don't vote, whatever, but, so it's like, it's not, I don't see why, I don't know if this is like shame on you for not voting, or are we trying to rally, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd like to see 99% of the people get out and vote. But if this is normally what we have, this obviously isn't due to poor advertising on the board's behalf, poor communication. It's the norm. How do we change the norm? And I think it's gonna take more than like 1 week to figure that out.
But also, of
I'm
those 10% that came, or whatever the number is, a lot of people expressed being confused. Of those people that did come out, said, I voted, but I was confused, and the people that I spoke to that voted said they were confused about things.
Yeah.
One of the things that I heard, and I had to really think about this hard, was, well, there were 2 numbers on the ballot, so I voted for the lower one. And I had to like, what?
I hadn't heard. Yeah, I think even the town clerks, when on vote counting night, said that it was slow, even for this. I think we've done a little better in the past. But I don't, Ken's right, we're not gonna change and get 80% voter turnout on
Right.
this. But we might get 1% or 2.
You might pick up a few.
People might not know, people might come and ask questions. if we
Especially being a
reach out to
revote at
them.
this point.
And it's a revote, so it's now a little more controversial. I mean, I think
Right, I
I think
think-
this does the job we need it to do.
Thank you. I think your challenge is that you're asking people to go do a special thing for answering one question with 1 check mark. It's one thing to go and make a whole bunch of check marks, but it's another thing to ask people to get out of your car, go in, wait in line, check your name off, and make 1 check mark, get back in your car, drive home.
Oh, there was no line when I went. I went right in and right through.
I
I don't think there was too many lines.
have not stood in line for a vote for anything in Vermont in all the years I've lived there.
Okay, I'll give my appeal out. Voters, if you're watching, when the vote happens, come out and vote. Your voice counts. We want to hear from you. Thank you.
April 30th.
April 30th.
So-
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, while you're talking voting, just a reminder is as soon as these ballots are printed, they'll be in the town clerk's office and you can walk in and vote.
Yeah.
You
Yep,
can vote
absentee.
absentee, so you don't have to wait to the day. Well, I'm just following up on Ken.
Yeah, it says right here.
I don't know if there's a way to emphasize that further. I see it's like bolded on this printout that you gave us about early and absentee voting.
Yes.
But especially because it's 1 check mark, I feel like to take the 15 minutes to like stop when you're driving by is really not a big deal. And if there's a way to emphasize that to people, as soon as it's available, make your check mark.
Maybe the printer can highlight that 1 sentence or something in yellow.
Oh, yeah, there are a few bucks to the print, yeah.
Well,
It's on this side of the mailer, so before you even open it, you will see that. So you don't even have to open this.
oh,
I see.
you'll see this
You'll
whole
see
piece.
that panel before you even
Early
open
and
it.
absentee
Oh,
voting
okay.
starts.
So that's not the inside, that's actually the outside, the
Oh.
way the thing folds.
Gotcha.
I should have made better demos, but I figured we'd scribble, so.
Okay.
Joe, does it say when absentee votes can happen?
It says that it starts April, and the date isn't filled out yet because we don't have the warning, or we don't have the ballots done.
We don't have the
But it will
ballot.
be the same, it will be the day the ballots are done. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want one of these? We have plenty.
We have plenty. I just can't, I can get the printer to set everything up and get ready to print this, and then I can just tell him, fill in those little missing things that Bill promised me. He's gonna get a shortcut for the website, so it won't be sites, Google, yada, 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 so I'm waiting on that as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just WRMED.org.
Careful.
Yeah, right.
So any other things that we want to edit in this before we send Anita away with our blessing to get this printed so we can mail it? I mean, we could probably say if you want to go home and look at it and you have until like noon tomorrow to email
Sure.
me with a, oh, wouldn't it be good if we changed this? Or, oh, I found a typo, or
Yeah,
something, anything.
I can think, but I usually can't type.
But, we need to make, we're up against a printing deadline. We kind of need to.
Yeah, you can say, I don't think a mailer is a good idea based on the costs. You have the print bill right there, you can
We're
look
looking at
at it.
$600 for the mailer?
Yeah, plus the cost of postage at .29. And that was for 1,500 pieces. And then if you flip the page, you see the incremental cost if we can't get that mailing list winnowed down a little bit.
You do have transition grant money to pay for
Mhm.
this, so.
I
I
think
thought we
definitely.
went over on transition grant money already.
Nope,
Not on this one?
Not on that one, huh?
nope, we have money.
That was the other grant money, yeah.
And anything else you want to add to this list too? If something pops into your head next week, and if I have time to do it, I will do it. I made a big list. I thought it looked better on
Yeah, and this list can be added to, right up until, whenever,
Right,
if we think of things.
right.
But the mailer, we kind of need a decision.
That's the one, yeah. Like, if you all think it's a good idea, then we'll go forward. If you think it's money spent better on newspaper ads, I mean, that same, let's say, $300 or $400 for postage, so it ends up being like a grand. If that would buy you like 5 more newspaper ads instead. So that's your trade-off, putting something in people's mailboxes, whether or not they're going to be stapled closed. So whether or not you want to do that, or,
What are you printing on? What are you printing onto?
oh, just plain white bond paper.
Does it change the cost substantially to put it on a colored paper?
No.
I can ask the printer, but won't be significant increase, no.
Actually, sometimes
You
it
have a
might get it
question?
cheaper.
I know, I was just
Depends
gonna
on if
say-
they have like a,
Yeah, and you don't even have to do them all in the same color. I can ask them to use remnants and leftovers, because they might have 300 yellows and 500 blues, and what do I care?
Right,
So
green.
I like color.
I can ask.
Thank you.
You had a
I was
question?
just gonna say, it seems like a no-brainer to be able to put something directly in someone's mailbox, instead of, let's hope that they read the paper that day.
And you had good success with mailers that Patty and I did when the Act 46 study committee, we did a couple direct mail pieces. You had good luck with those.
I think it's worth it. I do too.
Agreed. Doesn't sway me either way, but
Can I ask a
you
question?
can't
So-
have the excuse of not doing it this time. I would say definitely do it this time.
Certainly you can ask a question.
So I know you want to be somewhat vague in here because you want people to come to the meeting. My fear is people knew about the meeting last time and didn't come and voted based on what they thought the perception of what it was like. Would it help to put a little explanation here, a teaser about, this is one budget. It's, even though the pre-K 6 has been voted on, that it could be impacted with a no vote. Just a suggestion.
I had trouble working on that, and thank you for bringing that up, because I did say, hey, guess what, half the budget passed, and it's great, but now we need you again to, take a look at the second part of it. So I asked Bill about going into detail and reiterating the whole split budget thing and why it was done, and explaining about Windham again, and he sort of went, you only have one paragraph,
Right, but I don't think it's the Windham thing. I think people didn't realize, what I have heard is people voted for the elementary school budget because they wanted to support the elementary school budget. They voted against the high school because they didn't want to support that, even though it's one budget. They're not understanding that it will impact the elementary schools
Correct.
without that 7 through 12 vote going through. There is some impact that can happen. And that's the piece that I think is important. And I went to the meeting that was before, and while there were more people than are here tonight, you don't have a lot of people. And I just wonder if giving the teaser might get people to come to hear the truth, or to hear your truth of how it is. So.
Can you phrase that, Joe? I don't know that I can phrase it.
Yeah, I'm like, well, in just one sentence, I don't know how you tease, because that's a hugely complex issue. In terms of, it's one budget and we artificially split it, and, to say this was one budget and this was the other budget is really not true.
Can you just say, why we voted yes for the elementary budget, a no vote here will impact all district schools? Come and hear more? I mean, that's kind of saying,
Because in the end, this is one budget.
Right.
Right.
I want to just say that it's the you run into a little bit of a mud puddle when you start saying the words yes and no in a discussion, because then it looks like you're only endorsing a yes vote, and people have the right to vote
No,
no.
no,
so-
absolutely.
Joe,
So,
Yeah, you got
your
language?
vote on this affects the total budget, the overall budget, something simple.
Yeah, there you go.
Or all district
And
schools.
it avoids the yes, no.
Impacts all district schools even.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
like that.
You got it? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
No.
Yeah, and actually, as a side note to that, I think that's actually more important to say. If you're running out of room, then it's true that only 10% of people voted. I think that part will matter more to somebody who's glancing at it and being like, well, I'm not gonna make it to a bunch of meetings here, but I'm gonna go out and vote. Those are the people that
Right.
I don't think we're gonna guilt anybody by saying, like, literally no one's gonna go like, oh, dang, it was only 10%, I'm gonna get out this time. I don't think that's gonna happen by saying that. I think the people that voted last time are potentially more likely to come out for the second time by hearing that. Oh, gee, I was one of very few, so I better make sure I do that again.
Right. Well, I have a plan to increase voter participation across America. And it's like, if you vote, you get a free cup of coffee at Starbucks or something. We enlist Howard Schultz and, he's laughing, it could work.
All right, so you got that,
I got it.
edit.
I'm up for my.
And if, I don't think we need a motion, we just agree that this is worth doing and we're gonna trust Anita to finish it with our comments.
Yeah, and
Um,
Bill gets final review anyway.
Yep.
Nothing goes anywhere until Bill gets it run through top to bottom on everything.
So then pretty much we just need to say, do what you were hired to do, just get it done.
Exactly.
All right.
Make it happen.
All right, and again, I welcome feedback on what else I can do. So either get a hold of Joe and he'll feed me your thoughts and ideas, or get a hold of Bill and he'll send it to me. As I said, I set aside the next 2 weeks to just keep talking about this as much as we can.
I've got one very small suggestion on this.
Yes, please.
To me, at the end, when it says the West River Board members and your friends and neighbors, I wonder if the two ands need to be there, or do we want to do like board members, comma, your friends, comma, and neighbors? Just like the double and thing just caught my eye. But you're the professional.
You're right, I can work one out.
Okay,
I'm
you-
not a big fan of comments. Thank you.
Oh.
And,
You just wanna do
anybody else have a comment?
Got it. I'm like, where is it?
Thank you.
Okay, so if you get something.
Thank you, good job.
If you get something to do before noon tomorrow, it'll get in the print, otherwise,
That's your copy.
non-yo.
That's your copy. I'll take all this extra nonsense out of the way. Anybody need any extra copies? You're good? Thanks for bringing me the printing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do all that. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, next on the agenda, you have the analysis that Lori has done on what happens with the tax rate and what things look like, financially. Nobody had any questions, wanted any additional information that I was aware of. So, we have the financial impact. It does look like Windham leaving, even if they tuition most of their kids back, ends up costing us a little bit of money, but. Sure,
Joe,
yes.
in that estimate, is there an allowance for maintenance of the Windham school building? What money is allocated for that? What if the Windham school needs a new roof?
So-
What,
Go ahead. You want me to answer?
go ahead, Lori.
I just basically took the Windham budget as it is now. I made one assumption of a reduced FTE because of the 6th grade going to Leland and Gray. But other than that, it's as Windham's budget stands right now, and Windham's budget does not have a capital plan.
Okay, but before, you know, when things come up, as we know from the other buildings, you know, furnace go, how would a new roof
Well,
affect things?
I mean, assuming that, you know, this question comes from the point of Windham is now part of the West River Education District and we're responsible for this, the first thing we would have to do is have the engineering study done that all the other buildings have had done, and then that would become part of that building committee, you know, long-term discussion on what needs do we foresee in that building and how do we adequately plan, how do we make an adequate capital plan to maintain all the buildings that we are responsible for? Without that kind of information and sitting down and doing it, you know, we wouldn't really be able to put anything like that in the budget for any building, just because we don't know what it might need or what might come up. And the current Windham budget doesn't address that, so we couldn't even just say we'll continue to address it in the same manner that they did.
Well, Joe, actually, you can pretty much guarantee that they're gonna need a new, because the study went for the next 20 years, worth of repairs in every building, correct?
It went 20 years out capital planning, and it went backwards in
Okay.
deferred maintenance.
Okay, so 20 years out, regardless, even if they put a new boiler in, they usually last about 15 years, 20 years.
But we don't have the study, so we can't.
But no, but I'm
pull
saying,
numbers
so
out of
you
the
can
air.
pretty much guarantee that over a 20-year course, that there's gonna be a new roof involved, there's gonna be your standard maintenance over 20 years in any building, including all the buildings we have now.
Sure.
We had a new roof put on a few years ago down at Newbrook. We're gonna need a new roof within 20 years, because shingle roofs aren't destined for 50-year use. So obviously, there's gonna be repairs that are gonna have to be added in to the building. Yes, we do not know the exact cost, but yes, there are going to be maintenance costs if that building is in the district, just like any other building.
Thank you.
He's right, we went through this way back even when we did the RED study, and it was brought up that, well, we'd have these two, if we made one new building, and we'd have these two buildings sitting there, you still have to do the maintenance in the buildings that are sitting in the district, even if they're not being used as a school building until the town takes them over, if the town decides to take them over. Just because you're selling it back to the town for $1 doesn't mean the town's gonna buy it for $1. So those are all what ifs. You're gonna have to go under the assumption that there is going to be money in maintenance for a building if Windham is in the district.
Well, this only runs out for 4 years, so we didn't budget that in, but, you know, should Windham come into the district, we would have to go into a more, this is to just have an idea, not the actual 20-year capital plan.
Hey, Lori, just a question on the equalized pupils.
Hang on, Howie. Hang on, Al was talking, you just couldn't hear him, hang on.
Sorry. Question on the equalized pupils in scenario 2, 3, and 4, 20, 40, and 60% tuition, the equalized pupils is all the same, 5, 10?
Yep.
Right,
9, 3?
because if Wyndham is not in, then we would not be having their equalized pupil in West River.
Al was just
Oh,
clarifying an
I'm sorry.
equalized pupil.
Gotcha.
Oh, hold on. Al was just clarifying equalized pupils. What was your question?
So we have to speak closer to the phone.
Sorry, I'm about
Yeah,
50
try
feet
yelling
away.
this way. Yeah, we'll try.
Al was asking about the equalized pupils in scenario 2, 3, and 4, because they were less, and I was explaining that's because Wyndham is not in at that point. They're tuitioning their students in.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, I just wanted, my point is that the numbers that I'm seeing are on the low end. I feel like there's a lot of stuff you guys could have gone back and looked at the past 20 years of expenses to maintain with the school, pick one quarter of that, and find the alternative to get down the cost of
So part of that, I think, Howie, when I was projecting out, is I did increase expenses, and I used a 3% rule, and I increased the expenses a total of 3% year over year. So that's not just on salary and benefits. I increased the entire expense budget by 3%. So some of that additional capital needs could come in under that. I mean, we budgeted, what, $332,000 in the West River budget for capital needs and consulting, right? So I used just the total number and increased it by 3%. So some of that will be absorbed in that 3%.
Well, again, I feel like the projections, I mean, I appreciate the work you've done with the projections, but given the educational situation in Vermont, and it just doesn't seem like these numbers really are meaningful.
What do you mean by the educational situation in Vermont?
Well, the fact that what the state is, the state is changing funding formulas constantly in terms of what's an equalized pupil and what is, what's the funding for equalized pupil. And I don't have to, describe to you how complex the whole thing is. It just seems very difficult that make accurate projections 5 years out. If we can make accurate projections 5 years out, I don't think we should.
But then by using that logic, that would apply to the whole budget as well. Right, I mean,
Yeah.
nobody can predict the future, really. Maybe somebody
Yeah,
here
you
can.
can. You have to plan for what's going on in your school and your kids.
I think that, I feel like given the information that we know, what is a given and things that we do know, that this is a pretty good leap in the right direction. I think there's absolutely no way to know exactly what we're budgeting, and that's why this isn't an actual budget, but a glance into the future of what we might expect. I don't think anybody expects this to be, something that it ends up being put down on paper as, that's it, you said it one time, and so now it's never gonna be any different than those numbers. But I think that given the information that we do know, and using the budget that Windham has been using, that we can make some general assumptions, and I personally feel comfortable with those assumptions in giving us a big picture. I don't think that every detail is going to be exact in here by any means, but the big picture seems to be founded at least on a lot of good knowledge.
Totally agree. This is very thoughtful, very well laid out. It's an excellent financial analysis based on what information you have.
Yeah, Al just agreed with Lindsay that this was, very good work and excellent. He actually used the phrase excellent financial analysis. Anything predicting finances 5 years out is to my mind voodoo, but this is pretty good voodoo. Yes, Mike.
I just want to point out that as the unified tax rate is higher with Windham out.
Hang on.
And how it goes, 2 cents, 1 cent, 4 cent, 4 cents, 6 cents. But we also have to keep in mind that we're going from and Lori appropriately says it above, that we're going from 8 cents down to 2 cents over time too. So it seems like it's almost a push. Seems like, because we're losing that incentive.
2 cents.
Yeah, it's just.
It's a wash.
It's a wash.
Yeah, well, and the
It's a
incentive
wash.
is there to give us the time to make adjustments to try and make it not do that. But, this is saying we're gonna increase expenses 3% every year, and these, it makes those assumptions that we're not doing anything to control costs, and this is what'll happen, so.
one of the other big assumptions that I made, which is important to point out, is the West River equalized pupil is reducing every year on its own. So, I mean, that's a trend that's been going on for, you know, the last 5 to 7 years. And so I built that trend in. So that's another piece of the puzzle. That's an important piece.
Right.
But
can we-
hang on one second, somebody on the phone was wanting to talk. Who was asking? Was it Drew or Howie?
I was. No, I was.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the analysis is super helpful in kind of understanding. I think the office and board were together. I did miss her last statement. If you could say that one more time about was the enrollment considered a part of it? I kind of missed whether it was or was not in this assessment.
Sure, Drew, yes, I took that, that West River's base equalized pupils reduces 3% over the next 4 years as well, because that is the trend.
Thank you.
Ken?
Okay, now, with the incentives included in here, it actually does come pretty close to a wash as you can get, because you're automatically jumping the tax rate up 2 cents every year anyway, because that's going away every year.
No, this is apples to apples, that's.
Yeah, it's apples to
that's not
apples,
true.
but it's included, so it is neutral.
No.
Because if it's going up
Right.
1 cent and the cost is automatically going up 2
This is assuming
cents.
the same tax rate decrease in both situations, so it's apples to apples. What she's comparing
Right,
is saying that we would have, 2 cent increase, 1 cent increase, 4 cent, 4 cent, and 6 cent.
right.
Apples to apples.
Right, this is what you're gonna have, it says it right here. And this is what I'm saying, and if it's gonna go up a penny, right? With that decrease coming in, because it's not an increase anymore, it's a decrease of 2 cents every year.
Right, but the decrease is in both scenarios,
Right,
both situations.
right, so this 1 cent is really actually a wash.
No,
No.
the reduction in taxes is taken across Windham all in
Yep.
and across Windham all out.
Right.
And this is the difference between in and out, the difference between that every year. Like
Is 1 cent.
out is 1 cent higher. But since the reduction was taken out of both of these numbers, you can't take the reduction out of this again. The reduction was out up here.
It's taken out of in and out.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So
it's
these are
automatic.
apples to apples.
Either
So
way,
there's
it's
1,
automatically
4, 4.
going, what I'm saying is, the number is automatically moved anyway.
But
This number
but
is
this
because of the
difference is
difference.
the real difference.
It's not saying how much it's gonna change over time, it's saying how much the difference, what's the difference in change.
Yeah, the difference in change, all in and all out, is 1 cent.
Right.
And then the next year is 3 cents.
4 cents.
4 cents.
Well,
and
it's
4
3 cents
and
over
6
the,
cents.
over the 1 cent, so it's 4 cents difference. But you're also including, automatic 3% increase across the whole budget. Correct?
For both.
For
For both.
Both, yes.
So you're still having, either way, you're still increasing for both.
But that
whether they're
increase
in or out.
does not, that increase is
Because if
not a
they're-
part of
if-
these other numbers.
If they're out,
The numbers on the bottom are the net of all of them.
but if they're out with 3%, if they're out, it doesn't make any difference to the district. Because they're out, their number doesn't count. They're not, their pupils don't count because they're not in the district. They don't count as part of the student count.
Do you know what's missing here?
No, it is an apples to apples comparison, so whatever I did in scenario 1, I did in scenario 2,
2, 3, 4.
4, or 5.
Right.
No, so on this page, Ken, on this page here,
Yep.
this is the work of comparing it over time.
Lori, do you have more printouts? Al's working off his phone. And
Oh.
we all-
They're
no,
over
that's
there, Al. Sorry.
Easier with my hand.
Yeah. This,
Yeah, that's all.
that's everything.
Yep.
It is, I know, I'm like trying to pull it back and forth. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Drew, there's a lull.
I was curious as to, out of all of the current Windham High School students, are there any that are taking advantage of high school choice currently, or are 100% of eligible high school students living in town Windham currently going to Liberty Grade?
I believe 100% are. The numbers I got from the registrar, I believe are all the Windham students are enrolled in Leland and Gray.
Do they?
But I don't know
choice?
about, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
high school students have choice by state law.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Meaning they can pay for their choice.
No, they can,
Yeah, my question was, are they taking advantage of that now? Students
no, high school students.
To the Green Mountain at this moment?
Right.
That's a good
It's a
question.
good question.
Drew, and right now, I don't believe there are, but I only counted the ones that were attending Leland and Gray. I didn't account for any homeschool students or any other students that could potentially come to Leland and Gray or could potentially tuition to another school. I only used what I know today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I mean, we can keep discussing this if you have more questions. We don't have really action to take on this yet. You know, at some point, it makes sense to me to, you know, when the other districts warn their vote to allow Windham out of Leland and Gray, that we would warn a vote for that same day to, you know, take them into West River, so that, you know, because that way they'll be all out or all in, depending on how the vote goes, and we'll have to do the work of educating, you know, the voters. It's like, if you want them all in, here's how you vote. If you want them all out, here's how you vote. And you know,
I don't know.
that's a statement of fact.
No, I know, I'm just saying, just how the last vote went with two different numbers, and if you want them all in, you gotta vote this one, if you want, you know what I mean?
I know,
It's
I
gonna
know.
be another
It's gonna
confusing
be
ballot, I'm
It's
just
gonna be a
saying.
difficult, confusing thing, but we've already seen, you know, the split budget is difficult with them, you know, 1 foot in each place. We've had now, in 2 meetings, we've had parents from Windham of 6th graders come and ask us to allow their students to come. Those are 2 things that we've found just in this short period of time that are complications because of the way this is arranged. And, you know, it really, you know, it's just cleaner and neater and better for, I think, pretty much all concerned if it just goes one way, you know? I'm not gonna go on record saying I think that it should be all in or all out. I think that's inappropriate for us. But please do one or the other, is just kind of where I'm coming from on that. But I don't think we're there yet, because I don't think that the other boards have been asked to warn that vote. But I think at some point, we may be asked to consider warning the vote to, you know, add Windham to the West River District. Al, good question.
So just to be clear, we're assuming 80% tuition, right? Anything below that, and the property tax burden becomes that much more, correct?
He said, for scenario, we're assuming 80% tuition in those tax rates. And if you do it at a different,
Lower.
if you do it at a lower tuition rate, you know, 20%, 40%, whatever, the tax rates change accordingly. They go up.
The disparity between the two, right?
Right,
go up.
right. The tax burden would be higher.
Right.
But if we look at the current 100% in, then we're really a 3-cent difference.
100%
Sorry.
I just said if we look at the current reality and then the 100% tuition, which is what we said is going on, as far as we know, then it's only a 3-cent difference.
Correct, but they don't have choice right now, so.
Well, they do
So
under
you-
state law.
True, they can choice out, but they don't, the school district wouldn't be paying for tuition at this point. In this scenario, they would be paying for tuition.
Right, their choice now is to another public school. They
Right.
can choose to go to Brattleboro or Green
Right.
Mountain or Wilmington.
Right.
If Wyndham were to
And
withdraw
that's
from
only high
Leland and
school, not
Gray.
junior high.
Right, that's only high school, not middle school, but if they were to withdraw, then that puts Burton, Vermont Academy, that puts everybody on the table with the school district paying the tuition that they allow to pay and the parents making up a difference to send a kid to a different school. So it becomes much different scenario when you can go to, what's perceived as a very elite private school for only a few $1,000 out of your pocket.
Okay, so, and remind me again why we are looking into how it's gonna financially impact this district if the town of Windham did not wanna be part of this district to begin with. And only reason they're partially in this district is because of Leland and Gray, which Leland and Gray will dissolve and the new district will take over the Leland and Gray building. Correct?
But Wyndham will still be part of us for the 7-12 education by virtue of their membership in Leland and Gray, unless those other 4 towns vote
As I know.
by town to release them.
Right. So, in other words, now that we've all voted to have this new district, everybody that wanted to be in this new district voted to become part of this district. And as we've heard from some people that they, regardless of how much we informed the public over the years of what was gonna happen when this district formed, such as properties and et cetera, that we still weren't clear enough to some people. But the town of Windham, who clearly says we do not want to be part of this district, our town voted no. They don't want to be part of the district. Leland and Gray dissolves. Okay, the Leland and Gray charter dissolves. The Newbrook Joint Contract Charter dissolves. Our contract dissolves. So now we have this new entity with the people that want to be in it, and one town that does not want to be in it, and by virtue of them being in the old high school unit as part of this district, we are trying to force them to become part of this district.
Al,
I just want to say the
louder
responsible,
though so they can hear you.
the responsible thing for us to do as members of this board is to look at the financial impact. We have to do this. I mean, you can see that,
I
correct?
can't hear.
He says the responsible thing to do is to look at the financial impact of the decision. We're just gathering information,
Yeah.
essentially.
And quite honestly, I think 80% is high, given the circumstances that will happen as a result of choice.
Do we honestly think that it is our obligation to look at the financial impact of this is a whole new district. The purpose of having a whole new district is to do things all new, all creative, all new, innovative, make our kids learn the best we can possibly do it at a cost to our taxpayers that is friendly, right? This is what we want to do.
Yeah.
Should we have to force one town into this district just because it's gonna save us 2 cents one year? 3 cents another year? This is what I'm saying. Where is the moral, what should we morally and ethically really be looking at? We should be looking at, is it our job to say to the people of Windham, we know what's better for your kids than you do.
Well, here's the thing. It's not the board's decision. This vote actually won't happen at this board. This is a vote of the towns that were involved in this decision. Windham has essentially already voted to withdraw from the West River District at a town meeting, and they've voted to withdraw from Leland and Gray. Now those 2 districts, Leland and Gray and West River, have options to, Leland and Gray, once the vote is certified, they have 90 days to warn the vote for each town to vote them out of the Leland and Gray Union School District. The West River District, citizens have the right to vote. The board would warn that vote, but we wouldn't, I mean, we vote as individual citizens, but we're as a board, and with this financial analysis, we're not advocating a position, Windham in or Windham out. We simply have information about what that would do to our district going forward. And you're right, the change is not, I mean, 4 cents on the tax rate, 6 cents on the tax rate, it's not a huge impact. If it was, $1 on the tax rate, people would probably be running to the polls to vote at 100% to keep them in. But it's not. We're looking at this financial, but the ultimate decision is going to be made by the voters of the districts that exist, and not this board. And the board won't advocate a position either.
And that's why I'm saying we should not even have an issue of, okay, we know what the numbers look like. These numbers are if things go exactly the way this scenario plays out. If there's no change in Windham gets 3 kids in or Windham gets 3 kids out. Okay, if we decide, this district decides to close 1 elementary school, that'll impact the whole tax rate. But you gotta understand, we're looking at, if just this happens this way, this is the dollar amount. Is this really enough for us to even advocate taking a stand on, well, there is a slight financial impact?
It's not our job to advocate or take a stand. No
Okay,
one from this
then why are
board
we-
should say,
then why are-
Wyndham belongs in,
then-
Wyndham belongs out.
Then
That's not our job.
That's right, because it's not a money issue.
We haven't said that.
No, well, apparently we are, because
We are not.
we've
You're
already
putting
asked
words
our administration to look into what is this gonna financially gonna look like for our district if
Gotcha. And then
if they pull out, if they get voted out or voted in, what's it gonna look like? What it's gonna look like, it's gonna be the same district. Wyndham's gonna send their high school kids wherever they send them, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are still gonna be coming here. And like I said, there's also other scenarios. You don't know what they're gonna do with the elementary school eventually. There's other issues you don't know. So we need to really seriously take into consideration, is this board even bothering going into looking into how this is gonna, we know how it's gonna impact us. It's gonna cost us a few cents one way or the other, period, okay? Because it could turn around in our favor and bite us in the posterior when there's termite damage done to the building, and then we have to come and rebuild a whole new school building because we can't close the school because the town didn't vote to close the school. So you don't know what's gonna happen. The septic field, the septic can go, the leach field can go. You don't know what's gonna, these things can happen, okay? So we're not even gonna get into all that. What we're gonna say is, okay, it's up, they voted not to come into this district, okay? It was a voluntary, this whole thing was voluntary, remember? The voluntary study committee, right? For this district, it was we all volunteered to look at. Then there was a vote. Now there's a district. Those who didn't want to get in, don't try to influence everyone else into forcing them to come in. Let them do what they want. It's their town, let them do what they want. That's all I'm saying, I'm done. It just annoys me.
Thank you, Ken.
As a voting member of the public, I would like to say that the more facts and even projections I have in front of me, the more informed my vote will be.
It's Rick. He's saying that the more facts he has in front of him as a voter, the better his decision is.
That's all.
Well, that is the best statement I've heard all night.
Drew agrees with you. Trish, you had a comment?
I was just going to say something similar in that when this vote comes to the towns, to me, I want to, as a taxpayer and a voter, be able to understand all the potential implications as much as can be possibly represented in numbers with the facts that we have today. And also, as a board member, I think if we didn't do a broad-based kind of analysis like this, there would be plenty of people who would feel like we hadn't done our due diligence. I would rather not say, it's probably a penny here or there. You know, I'd rather be able to say, well, this is what we did. Here it is, make your decisions. We are not influencing you one way or the other. But we just want to present as much financial data as people may want to ask for. It's part of our responsibility.
And it's probably a penny here or there. But like I said,
It's
now,
good to know.
but the point, it's, the thing is, it's not about the money, it's not always about the money. It's
I agree with
who am I from Newfane to turn around and say, Wyndham's children need to be educated in this district. Why? Because we could lose 2 cents off our tax rate.
Can I say something?
Sure.
But nobody knew it was that 2 cents until this was done. So now we know, and now I can say, oh, this is how much it is. But nobody knew that before tonight.
And this is an exact amount on exactly what was put into it. It could change, and it could go up 3 cents from there. It could go down 3 cents from there.
You're right, yes. I would just like to reiterate that every voter is gonna have their own priorities, and I totally respect and appreciate every individual voter's choice to do as they see fit, and I'm very happy that this vote is happening between all of the voters, and none of us get a say other than as individual voters. And I'm very happy that's the case, because I think that's the way it should be. And I think all of us can take to heart and do what we all choose along with everybody else. And I'm happy that that's the way it's gonna be. We have some information. If anybody has new information, I would love that also. I think that we should all have all of the information and digest it ourselves and vote as individual voters happily.
Okay, I got one more thing to
Most
say and I'm
importantly,
shutting up.
vote.
But importantly, vote.
There you go.
Okay. I'd like to say, just remember, there's an old saying, it says it takes a village to raise a child. Okay? It takes a village to raise a child, not a bunch of villages to raise somebody else's kid. Keep that in mind. I'm done.
Anything else on the financial?
Nope.
No, I wasn't looking at you. Somebody who hasn't talked so much. Okay.
Feels so good to have my voice back, Joe.
Okay, so at some point there may be some action. Hopefully we don't have to have hopefully there's not a lot of additional discussion needed. Tonight was sort of the financial information, the discussion. When it comes, I think it's sort of like, okay, we've talked about this. This is what sort of makes sense. This is how we're gonna have to move, because there will be like warning windows and time windows. If something, if you think of something, we can always we can always talk about a piece again. But, this was the sort of here's the big time. Let's get all the information we want to make this, so that when we are asked to make a decision in a May meeting, maybe we can make it without like, oh wait, we didn't talk about this enough. Okay, so as long as we're good, I'll move on. Lori has.
Speak, Joe? Yeah. Just a quick comment. I know that we have some board members that have very strong feelings on this topic. I think it's very important that as you said, the board takes a position of providing information to the public so they can have an informed vote. And I do believe before we warn a vote, we need to discuss the board's code of conduct and position statements that are made by board members. Because from what I'm hearing tonight, I'm concerned that we may not have a board that is capable of making or presenting the information to the public without taking a position. And I don't believe our board should be taking a position in the public when it comes to which way the vote should go. We shouldn't be advocating one way or the other, but simply providing them with the best information we have available to us. And I'm concerned that once again we're going to have board members that are speaking outside of what the board's responsibility is, which is to provide these voters with information.
Well, you've put it on the table. It will certainly be part of the discussion. when we take action. We did talk about that same thing in some of the things that Susan Holson covered tonight for us, in that, that it's one thing when you're discussing an issue to have different viewpoints and all of that, but once the board has actually voted, that's the board's decision. And it's not necessarily that you have to, you don't have to necessarily agree with it, but it is, as a board member, your duty to, that's the board's decision, that's what the board has said we're gonna do. I personally, you can even go as far as to say that you personally were not, you didn't speak in favor of that decision, because that's a matter of public record. But once the board has decided, it should move forward with one voice, the board. And you're right, there shouldn't be, and we had an example, there shouldn't be board members disagreeing with that public position. That is something that we, I think if everybody's aware of that, it's just, that's, board members should, as board members, should guard against that. And it's difficult because these are very controversial and derisive issues for some towns.
Well, since we just touched on that, this came up in our Susan meeting too, so I had printed out copies of the Vermont School Board Member Code of Ethics, as they currently are. They might change, but, because I've heard, because Drew had called me out a couple meetings ago about saying something, so this doesn't actually say, the Code of Ethics that VSBA puts out doesn't actually say that you have to support. Now, I agree with you, you should, but it doesn't that's the only point I'm trying to make, is that the Code of Ethics as it currently is doesn't actually say that, and I'm done.
Okay, so, moving on again, Lori has a whole bunch of financial documents for us. These are all pretty much in connection with establishing bank accounts for the new school, right?
It is for your new district.
It's for our new district, I'm sorry, new school. It's late. So.
Now you want to build a new school.
No.
Put it in the budget.
Don't you put words in my mouth.
So the first one is the business deposit account certified resolution, which is basically an authorization. The board needs to give authorization to Joe to sign that People's Bank is going to be our bank, and that the two authorized signatures on this are Rick and myself. And then Joe has to get it signed in front of a notary.
So moved.
Okay, do you want to make the motion?
I just made it
Okay.
for
All
Joe
right,
to
so you don't
sign.
sign yet, you have to sign
No.
in front of a notary. I'm gonna
Right.
give this to you, but Rick can sign.
Okay, we need a second on that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor of authorizing, this is just me to sign the required documents from Peoples to
Yes,
have you and Rick sign
and that they
on
are
behalf of
The
the
your,
West
authorized
River.
signatures
You're our
from the
authorized
school
signatories.
yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the ayes have it.
Okay, the next one is the business card, credit card resolution form. You've signed this one before. This also is only signed by the board clerk, which I believe is still Al, right?
No, it's
No.
Drew.
Drew.
Oh, Drew!
Drew, we need you to come back.
Okay,
Click.
I still think you can make the motion and then we'll get the board signature after this, but this is authorizing that, for a credit card, and the credit card is in the amount of $50,000. It was $25,000 when it was just Leland and Gray, but we've increased it to $50,000.
Why?
Because I would assume that the smaller schools will want to take advantage of that as well. So, I know that Newbrook has been asking for a credit card for a while.
I'm just asking. That's why I'm asking the question.
So we need a motion to authorize the clerk to sign the business card resolution form for the
So
West
moved.
River Modified District. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All
Any discussion on that one?
Nope.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Okay.
One more?
The next, two more things. The acknowledgement of assumption of debt. So this is, the board needs to sign this, so it's, the West River Board is assuming Newbrook's capital improvement note that is due to mature September 1st, 2020 for their HVAC system. So about $135,000, roughly 140 left on the loan to pay this year and next year, fiscal year 21. So you did this for Leland and Gray's bond not too long ago, but this one is for the bank loan.
And this one has to be signed by all of us?
By the, all
A
or
majority.
majority of the Board of School Directors and then by the district clerk.
So Anita.
Yeah, she'll have to attest to this.
So do you need a motion?
Okay. Yes,
No?
please.
Or do we just need an action?
A
A
motion.
motion to
Okay, I make a
sign,
motion that we sign Newbrook,
acknowledgement of assumption.
acknowledgement of
Okay.
assumption form.
Second?
Okay? Any discussion, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right.
You got one more?
Not on the district clerk line, please.
Okay.
Anita will be so
So I'm
glad.
gonna, this one takes a little more conversation.
Oh, this is the VMERS thing.
Oh,
no,
come on, no, not this.
Alright. So, in order to, right now, let me tell you what the current situation is with the schools that represent West River. So the schools that represent Yep. West River, the only entity that participates in VMERS, which is Vermont Municipal Retirement System, and it's for retirement benefits for the non-teachers.
You already speak louder.
Sorry,
Like
for
administrators?
non-teachers, this is for VMERS, the Vermont Municipal Retirement System.
Like administrators?
It can be administrators, it's also for paraeducators,
Okay.
it's for custodians,
Gotcha.
so it's people that are in our ESS support staff agreement and also educational support staff agreement, sorry, forget all the acronyms.
Because they all do non-union, non-teachers. union
Non-teachers
members.
union, but there is a union involved in this.
Right, right.
And also those that are covered underneath the handbook, so, okay? And those are the employees that it represents. Right now, Leland and Gray is the only one that offers that, so there's no offering in Jamaica, Newbrook, or Townsend right now. So the board needs to decide two things. To continue offering VMERS for now all of the employees that would fall under this category of people. And then also, Leland and Gray is what they call VMERS A, Group A. And I would recommend that West River goes to offering Group B, which is more in line with Windham Central employees and also River Valley's employees. So the difference is it does cost the board more money. I gave away my thing, no, okay, here we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, so it's a difference of about 1.5% that the board would contribute. It also affects the employees, so this is a mandatory, if West River decides to offer this, then anybody in the district that falls under these categories of employees must contribute their piece. Yes.
Do they want it?
We haven't heard anybody say they don't.
Have you heard anybody say they do?
No. Neither way, it's just a mandatory, like at Windham Central, if we hire a para there and they just have to sign up for it because we offer it.
I feel like we should ask.
Well, it's mandatory and you can't, well, yes, I'm saying,
I would think before we say, you are going to be required to financially participate in this program, that we should find out if they would like to financially participate in this program.
so
And then we can make the decision.
Well, as a whole new district, right, as a whole new district, as a whole new entity, it's actually like a whole new package, correct? Isn't that how it would actually come out?
Well, there are people that are participating now
Right.
that would lose the benefit if you decided not to,
Right.
right? And then you would also be bringing in roughly 10 people. So if there's 10 people outside of Leland and Gray that would be affected by this. Administrative assistants, paras, custodians.
What's the net financial we went to B?
To go to B, it would be about $4,000.
$4,000 per
Difference
year?
or
Per-
total?
Well, between, so like I said, I think there's about, I had the list here, about, I would say, 8 people on it currently. And so to move those people from A to B would be about $4,000. You would be bringing in 10 others, and that would be dependent on their salaries. But, you know, it's, either way, it's going to cost you, whether it's the A or the B, if you go with VMERS as a whole.
Do you have a rough cost of what a total on A would be and a total on B?
I do not, no. I can get that for you, but.
Just do it.
I lost it.
I think I have to recuse myself from this one.
I would, I would, is it possible to get a, like, general consensus before we force people into a financial contribution to something that they may not be interested in doing? And if the general consensus is, yes, this is a good thing, like, this is not me, I don't know, like, who am I to say
And
what's best for somebody else? So the general consensus being, okay, yes, this seems like something that is beneficial, we would like this, okay? No, I don't think this is beneficial, I don't wanna do it. Like, I just don't know that it's my place to choose for somebody else what is the right for them.
Well, when you come to an employer, do you say, no, I don't want Blue Cross Blue Shield, I want Aetna?
No, but you can on like a retirement plan choose whether or not to contribute.
Right. Whereas this is a forced contribution.
Well, it's forced, but the employer's matching.
Right.
But it's still forced.
It's forced, and it has a slight increase for the employee, well, almost double.
But there's also a tax benefit because it's pre-tax.
Okay.
So
Alright.
that is also plays into it. It's probably, you know, negligible really, the
Alright. Yeah,
difference
it
when you
probably
add the
is.
pre-tax.
Is it, so for the, I think you said 8 employees that currently are taking advantage of it, that's built into the budget already, but these additional 10?
So actually, I built it all into the budget because I knew that this decision was going to be coming up. So it's budgeted at the 5%, right now, because I was going to recommend VMERS B to you because that is what all of the Windham Central employees that are eligible for this, which is most of our paras now because they're all part of special ed, which is through the SU, are all on this plan.
It seems to me like a nice benefit, but I also feel like we should just get a consensus before we decide, like, you need this. I don't know.
Well, how
Can
does
we
that
just be like,
work?
hey, what do y'all
No,
think?
I have
Well, I mean,
a,
we've made other decisions that have.
To get a better understanding, so you're saying that right now, we already have employees in Group B,
Group A,
or Group A,
we have the
And-
employees
and
in
Group
Group A, B, yes,
and B.
different entity, yeah.
Right, 2 different entities. And we're saying we're gonna consolidate all into one entity, is what we wanna do,
No, what I'm saying is that Windham Central, which is its own entity,
right,
is part of Group B.
right,
Only Leland and Gray is part of Group A.
okay.
Everybody else is nothing.
Right, and nobody, well, no, that's not, they're not nothing, they have other plans that they contribute
There
to.
are some side deals that different boards have made with their employees to contribute a match to what
Right.
they're paying in on something different.
But
But
do-
those are all,
I think the question here is, do we wanna be universal to all our employees? I think what Lori's getting at. And I agree with her, I think we should. But that's just my opinion, but I'm gonna recuse myself from the vote.
are all,
Discuss.
are all of the people who would are all of the people who would be being added to this union or not?
both, because some of them will fall under the educational support staff agreement.
I was trying to think,
Like the custodians in the other, so West River is going to be like Jamaica and Newbrook
Right.
and, well, Newbrook's already a part of it, but Townsend will come into the employee, the educational support agreement. So then they would be eligible.
Well, I was just thinking, it's difficult to go out and ask 10 employees because we really don't need to, but, we could certainly reach out to the union rep and say, hey, what do you think? Do you think your employees would mind if we adopted VMERS? And, the union would speak and we would have at least some feedback from someone whose job it is to sort of watch out for the employees. And, that would give you some comfort, because.
Is it really difficult to ask 10 people a question? Is that really?
I'm not
difficult?
sure.
Well, what do you
do?
do? So what do you do if it's 5 and 5?
I mean, I don't know, I just feel like, I think it's a,
I don't
But
think
is
you
it
can know the
asking
10
all of
people.
the people at Windham Central then if
Just
they
have the
want it?
union rep ask.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
agree with Joe on this one, and let's ask the union rep.
To ask them.
sure, yeah, I'm good with that,
Yeah,
sure.
speak
to your
people.
Right. Sure.
Is that gonna put you in a bind if we don't decide until the next meeting on that?
The people at the state retirement were hoping for a vote tonight, but because of getting everything needs to be switched over to the new entities. I think that all of you can understand when you open up a new entity that.
That's right, it'll just
the
take these
insurance
people another year to get
companies and
vested, all
everything
because you
need
guys
to
had to
move
wait.
Over, so, So it doesn't put me in a bind necessarily. It may not happen by 7/1.
Call Bruce.
Yeah.
Get Bruce on the phone.
I'm good with that.
Sorry, guys, we have to disconnect you.
I mean, just, that was just, I don't know, if everybody else feels differently, that's, I mean, absolutely, like, we can have that conversation. It just seemed to me that that's a good thing to do before you make people do things.
I
Just
do
make sure
see your
they're cool with
point.
it.
I just think that if we reach out to the union rep, I think that's good enough.
So, but you think that timeline of that is not, we're gonna leave some people high and dry if we end up doing
Well,
it?
it sounds like if.
Might mean they miss a
If
vote.
we need a vote on this to, go to VMERS Group B, our next meeting is May 20th, which is probably too late for the state board to get this done by 7/1. So employees would lose a year of participation in vesting, maybe.
Probably.
Probably. So they would, we would postpone their participation by a year of retirement savings.
Could we, make some, like, sort of motion that pending this discussion, that if the union rep says, hey, we're in favor, then we're willing to do this, and the union rep says, heck no, then we can say, okay. Is it possible to do that so that this can move forward without another month and us saying yay or nay later?
Yeah, I suppose that's.
Yeah,
that
I mean.
Helpful?
But I think for the ones that are contributing, they would stay the same, we're guessing. Correct?
Well, something has to change because because Leland and Gray no longer exist as of
Okay.
6:30.
Right, if we don't act, everybody who's
Right.
currently in this
Right.
is out of it.
Right.
So we're at
People are
least a year,
literally-
so.
For a year.
I'm hoping to retire at this age, whoops.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
mean, I see your point.
I do
I
too.
also
I totally
think
do.
that, this is a benefit. I mean, yes, you're gonna have to contribute pre-tax, but you're either in this and you're already contributing pre-tax, or you've got some other side retirement deal with some of these other schools where, again, they're matching. Nobody's getting money without making some sort of a contribution. So I don't think we're probably changing the lives of any employees much.
Those side deals too will go away as well because of
Yeah.
the entities ending on 6:30. So anybody who's, has a board contribution towards their retirement now won't have that starting 7/1 without some other vehicle in place.
I guess I'm
I guess
comfortable
we-
just
I think we
going
just
to
do
Plan
it.
B and moving ahead with it.
Just do it.
All right, I'm gonna
But
make a
you weren't
motion.
voting, Ken.
I'm not voting. I'm waiting for you to vote. I'm calling the question. I'm gonna call the question.
Okay, Mike, I believe has a motion. so-
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept Lori's recommendation for Group B of the VMERS.
They're very particular. Can I have you read this?
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
just say so moved and we'll give it a.
I'm not
sound done.
kidding you. This is they are very particular.
Oh, I'm
You're
sure
going
they
to
are.
make that motion.
So moved.
We
Anybody
can
else
have
wanna read it?
We can have Em type it in the minutes. Emily type it in the minutes. I'm sorry, Aaron type it in the minutes.
I think that's the motion you
I'm
have to
thinking camera person, I'm very sorry.
Do I have to just read this written part out loud?
Is that what you, that's the exact wording for
That is
the?
the exact
That is what I
wording.
ran by them after three
Recommended
tries.
Group B, increase employer contribution by 1.5%, 4K accruement? I can't read the last word.
But you're reading the typed part, not the
That's supposed to be
handwritten part.
employee,
Oh,
current employee.
Oh,
All right,
you're
current
reading
employee.
the typed part.
okay. The board elects to participate in the VMERS Group B defined benefit or defined contribution for all employees effective 7/1/2019. Those employees that were on VMERS Group A at Leland and Gray Union High School will be required to fill out an election form to move to VMERS Group B, and the newly eligible employees as of 7/1/19 in the following districts: Jamaica School District, Newbrook School District, and Townsend School District, that do not currently participate in VMERS will be required to fill out an election form to participate in VMERS. They will also be given an election between Defined Benefit Group B or the Defined Contribution Group B. All of these plans will be administered by VMERS as of 7/1/2019.
So there's an election form? They don't need to elect?
No, they still have to elect, they have to fill out an election form. But it's not really an election,
not really an election.
It's a
not-
mandatory contribution.
Yes,
we'll
Wait,
fill out
after
this
all that,
election
they can opt out?
They can-
Okay, is there a second to Mike's motion?
I can second it. I'm just not voting on it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of Mike's motion, adopting VMERS Group B, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Me,
Abstaining.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so
I have to abstain.
4, 5. Okay.
They can vote on the phone,
Yep.
can't they?
Yeah, do you guys want to vote? Are you still there?
Who is there? You did hang up on
Oh, can you just turn that off for one?
It's a good thing we got a quorum here, Joe.
All right, the ayes have it. We have VMERS Group B in time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else for us?
Let me just double check my folders, I think that's it.
Just
You
kidding.
guys are good.
There's no executive session. Any other business tonight?
Oh, here's my list of things.
Okay, one more motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you for coming. Thank you for a long night. Take some.